Press here for pain to disappear. Here's an example of how you can have pain that's been there for such a long time around a part of your body that hurts to press or hurts constantly, and it can be gone within seconds. How is it possible for pain to be present for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 30 around an area of scar tissue that's so tender that it constantly aches, or it's constantly provoked by pressure? So a lady asked me a question about metalwork that she had spinal surgery years ago. She said, why is it always tender? And she's becoming curious because she's noticing other pains that she's had for a long time reduce. So there's a bit of buy-in from her, and she can come to the clinic. But I'm going to describe a process that you can test at home, and I explain what to do, and I explain what each stage does. Now, doesn't matter that it's presented as a quick change in somebody else. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, remember. That's just the internal voice, that's pressure, that's it. Why does it work for them and not for me? You're already in the reaction to the potential behaviour before you've even done it. And if you attempt the process and you're in the behaviour of judging it, you're already in the reaction of failure before you've even done it. So let's take it slow. So this lady has metalwork in her spine from surgery 30 years ago, and it's always been tended to press. So this is a neural pathway in the body that responds to non-dangerous pressure. If we took it as this area here, and you use that as an example, it could be the knee, it could be the back, could be the shoulder, could be the hand, could be the spine. It's an area of the body reactive to non-dangerous pressure. So if I press on this part, it's not dangerous, patently not dangerous, it's objectively safe. If I press on this part and I have pain, then if I had an injury within 3 months of that, that makes sense. The body has to be in a protective stage from that trauma for 6 weeks of tissue healing and 6 weeks of tissue conditioning to get me back to normal. And that's for every physiological mechanism related to a tissue trauma. If pain stays longer than that, the tissue's healed. It doesn't matter if there's a scar there, it's healed. Because we've all got scars around our body, internal scars, external scars that have healed to the point at which the body's done its best job, and there's no need for pain thereafter. The alarm doesn't need to be there thereafter. If it is thereafter, it's the brain and the body maintaining a degree of protection that isn't required, or it is the brain and body believe it's required to protect the organism based on what the conscious person believes, to the point at which it's become unconsciously recognised. But it's long after it's actually needed. It's based in belief. But the person often doesn't know this mechanism exists, and this lady is curious and puzzled now. Why does it still hurt? Well, yes, there was damage, patently, obviously, surgically, but it's healed. So I said to her, can I put my hand on that area? And it was on her back. She said, yeah, of course. I said, does that hurt? Resting the hand on that part of the back. And if you tested a certain area, it's just placing the hand on that part of the back. There is no threat. Now the organism, the body, is sensing threat, sensing it might be pressed on. So I asked her to, and you can do this yourself, imagine me pressing down without me pressing. Close your eyes, you imagine the process, and you can do this yourself. Place your hand on where you feel the area of pain. Imagine the hand pressing down on that without it actually pressing. Now there should be no pain because there isn't any actual pressure, and in her there was no pain. Now if there is pain, that illustrates to you how predictable that pain is, because the body's triggering pain without pressure. That is evidence. Okay, that is evidence. that it's the brain and body, because you're not even moving or creating any additional pressure, only the prediction of it. If you experience pain and imagine it, bingo. All we do with that is then you bed in a state of calm, and I'll explain what we did with this lady, before you move on to the next stage. It just illustrates it's your brain and body. Now in her there was no pain. That means there's no fear, because she knows I'm not going to press. She knows I'm not pressing, even though her eyes are closed, and she imagines it. The brain is accessing the experience of being pressed in that part of her spine without fear being attached to it. So that neural pathway of kind of half the story, without the actual pressure and the expectation being there, because she knows I'm not going to, because I've told her, it doesn't trip the pain. Okay? Now you've accessed that experience of pressure in that part of your spine without fear. I asked her then to follow these words, and these words are very authentically safe, and these are a classic example given by Dr. Howard Schubiner, but you can use your own words. They're very authentic. I am safe. And I just said them and asked her to repeat them. But before we did this, I asked her if I could actually press. So we imagined the pressure, no pain. I pressed on it, she said, yes, it hurts. Okay, so that triggers that pathway. I got to imagine it again, and there was nothing. But then we want to reinforce the safety before we go back to pressure. So these words are, I am safe. I said, you don't have to say them, just follow them in your head. I am healthy and strong. There is nothing seriously wrong with me. Now you don't have to believe it, and it doesn't mean there isn't metal work there and there hasn't been a problem, but you're really embedding a sense of safety in the nervous system with a kind of that global statement. And I am safe. I said it again. I am healthy and I am safe. I am healthy and strong. There is nothing seriously wrong with me. I am fine. Okay. And all this time I had my hand placed on her spine in this area. She was in a comfortable position. I just placed my hand on it, and then I said, okay, can I press? I asked permission again. I pressed on her back. I said, tell me what it's like. She said, there's no pain. Now there's never been no pain for 30 years. And she looked confused. It is confusing for the person's experience to be so predictable, so consistent, anticipating pain, but actually that is the driver of the pain, not the pressure. It's the belief it's going to hurt that drives the pain. She holds her breath in that moment, she winces beforehand, she tenses generally, and those cues trigger the output of pain practically before the pressure. Once you generate that sense of safety in the nervous system, and that was only 4 words repeated twice for about 30 seconds with me asking permission and going close to the threat and checking it wasn't so reactive that when she imagines it triggered it. But if that had been the case, all you do, you imagine it and it hurts, you go through the same process and then imagine it, and if it doesn't hurt, you've accessed the calm neurological pathway of prediction without fear attached. If you then embed more safety, then repeat the process and add in pressure, you will find you can break those patterns of pain that you may have never believed were possible. You may have been told by others you always have to live with that pain and that degree of protection and that degree of guarding, and when you bend over and when you go there and when you do this. I'm sorry that other people have passed on you their fears. It's time to shut your ears to those noises anymore. Cultural ones, medical ones, professional people, well-trained people. They're not as well trained as they'd like to have you believe. With the greatest respect, you can change the pain. You can change the pain around a scar. You can change the pain around a movement. You can change the pain around prediction and expectation. You can change the pain. Have a go at this exercise. curiously. It doesn't matter if it isn't a 1 minute magic wonder like sometimes we see in clinic. And if you're on your own, it can be hard to do it yourself. However, practice this. Imagining the movement or the pressure, bedding a sense of safety with the breathing technique or the words I've mentioned, and retest it. If you don't get the change, be consistent. Don't be critical of your system. Don't be critical of the nervous system for not responding. You can't drag a dog that's scared under the settee on fireworks night out to the fireworks, even because you've seen a dog of the same age, height and weight and breed at the fireworks, and you think it's possible now. You've got to be patient with your own nervous system. You might never learned how to do that. You might know how to speak to it like that. You might not know how to breathe in that way or even conceptualize what that looks like, but you can learn all those things. Stay consistent, stay curious, and watch the pain change.